It's time to meet some movers and shakers, people making waves, the Wakulla wave makers.
Welcome everybody, this is Brian English with another edition of Wakulla Wave Maker. I'm super excited today. I get to talk to Steve Sanabria. Great guy. I've had an opportunity to meet him a few years ago. I was in a Rotary meeting and this guy comes in there. I could tell he was very knowledgeable, very, very community minded. He had been a member of a Rotary Club down south for a long time. And I was like, wow, I was really captivated talking to him. He's got just a ton of experiences. And we're going to talk to him today, and we're going to get his thoughts on leadership, where he's from, local community. Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and what you want us to hear right up front.
Well, thanks, Brian. I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you this afternoon. As you said, we became acquainted through Rotary, an organization near and dear to my heart, and we hit it off pretty good. And so I appreciate you asking me to join you on this podcast. But interestingly enough, I'm a Florida native, although you may hear me lapse into an accent that sounds somewhat like Bugs Bunny or some other Yankee. I have spent many years among the Yankees, but I'm actually a Tampa native. And then my father was from Brooklyn, New York. Met my mother at UF. And as all good New Yorkers, he decided the family had to go back to New York at some point. So yeah, I spent many years up there and come back to Florida, praise God, on behalf of my son, who had some learning disabilities. There's some terrific schools in Florida for folks like him. So we moved to Broward County, and I was there for a number of years. And then COVID chased me out of Broward and up to Wakulla County. And if God favors me, I will stay here until he calls me home.
Well, I hope he does, because we like you here for sure. And talking to Steve, we got some similar backgrounds with the Boy Scouts of America. And he was, if I remember correctly, a district commissioner down south, but he fully understood the program that it was and what it was intended to. And he's really big on leadership and character. Tell us a little about your experience there.
I was fortunate to have some really, really good role models, mentors. Mentor wasn't a popular term at the time when I was in scouting. I mean, I started scouting in the 60s, for crying out loud. But my scoutmaster in 1971 was a fellow by the name of Bud Cole, World War II veteran, Rockland County, New York. He was the head of custodial services for Letterly Laboratories, a large pharmaceutical company in Pearl River, New York. A lot of who I am today came from him. I didn't have the world's greatest relationship with my father, a kind of complicated man, but I was always blessed to be surrounded by strong men of accomplishment and purpose and values-driven individuals who kind of took me under their wing. And Bud Cole was one of those. Created an environment where I had an opportunity to deal with a lot of situations, kind of punched over my weight from a very, very early age. And then I continued with the Boy Scouts as an adult. When my son was born, we put him in the program, and I was his den leader as a Cub Scout. Got to work at all the levels in Cub Scouting as a pack leader and a den leader, and ran the day camp for South Florida Council, excuse me. And then I was the overseer for all of the day camps in South Florida Council for a couple of years. And they kind of liked my game and ended up being the council commissioner for a couple of years. Had some great people that I worked with down in South Florida. But leadership from a Boy Scout perspective for me, and from a professional perspective, and this may hit your ear kind of funny, I think leadership is really overrated. They say, leaders are made, not born, which is true. And we send a lot of people to leadership classes and teach them how to be leaders and whatnot. Right. But if they were all leaders, That would be really awkward because you need doers, you need followers. So my leadership philosophy, my leadership model is to be the first follower. If the leader has a compelling vision and strong values, a mission and vision that my values align with, I'm going to be the first guy in to support that leader. Because without the first follower, the leader's mission fizzles and falls out. You're just a nut walking around preaching. But if you have a follower, well, then everybody else who follows the leader, they actually follow the first follower. They don't follow the leader. The first follower makes it kind of translates for the leader. So I'm always been very comfortable and personally and professionally successful in that role as kind of the number 2 guy. And in my family's history, I'm Spanish and Italian. So, some of you may be familiar with, some of the roles that Italians have played in popular culture and movies. I'm very comfortable in the role of consigliere, right? With the number 2, the guy who will whisper in the ear of the boss. And the number 1 guy will turn to him and say, "Hey, Steve, what do you think about this?" And I'll go, "No, probably not a good idea." And I go, "Okay, tell me why." "Well, because if you do this, this will happen or that'll happen and blah, blah, blah." And I was able to leverage that into a successful legal career, but an even more successful hotel management career, as well as Six Sigma and process improvement and quality management and all of that kind of stuff by being the first follower rather than the leader.
Yeah, I remember when you first came to the Rotary Club here, and I had been a member for a very long time, and you came from a big club, a bigger city, if you will. And man, you had a ton of ideas, but you didn't just throw them out in a way that would drive away the local people, for lack of a better funny there. But I mean, you had these ideas and you wanted to move on whatever we wanted to move on. But you gravitated to everything we were already doing, and you put the effort in. You weren't just an idea guy. You just didn't just talk about it. You do it. You are a doer. I know that you're involved with Rotary, Keep Wakulla, all kind of things you got going on right now. So you're perfect for this historical record for somebody who has great influence but's making a huge difference. Tell us a little bit more about you. What is important to you? What makes you tick? I know we talked about leadership, but you've got a lot of drive. Talk to us about that a little bit.
I can't sit still. You could say I got ants in my pants, whatever. Some folks are good at relaxing. They can, I'm retired from my career now, but I spend 0 time on the couch or on the porch. I have to be doing something. I believe, and a lot of this I tie back to the Boy Scouts. I come to the church late in life, so I can't say, that I was divinely inspired to be a doer, to work, to be a worker bee, right? To work. But I can't sit still. I always have to be doing something. Early on, I learned, and it's true. It's true today. It was true then. It'll be true forever. Is that you are responsible for creating the type of world that you want to live in.
Amen.
You can't look at a child or a grown man in the eye and say, you should do this. You should do, it would be better if you did this or you did that. If that's true, then why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing it? And the kind comments that set up your question, Brian, I want to address that from the Rotary perspective or from our introduction perspective.
Yeah.
When I come back to Florida, I got a job at the Westin Diplomat in Hollywood as a variety of things. I was pretty much chief cook and bottle washer for a little while down there, kind of executive without portfolio. But I became the director of Six Sigma Black Belt for the property and for regionally supporting the area general manager. And when I got the job, the guy who had it before me for many years was wildly successful at it. It had just made all kinds of process improvements, saved the property all millions of dollars, saved at Starwood Hotels and Resorts millions of dollars. And when I got the job, I asked a fellow by the name of Rick Edwards, I said, Rick, you're really good at this. I've never done this before. You got any advice? And he said, and man, I took this to heart. He said, present the facts in a non-threatening manner.
Oh, wow.
I said, what else? He said, that's it. That's it. Just present the facts in a non-threatening manner. When I come to Wakulla County and met all these great people, it's different than Broward County. That's to be respected, not changed, right? So pay attention, look around, listen, float your ideas in a non-threatening manner. That's it. The ones that folks want to get involved in, they will. As long as you're enthusiastic about it and willing to roll up your sleeves. The ones that don't fit the template or fit the circumstances in Wakulla County, they'll let you know, provided that you don't present them in a threatening manner. Then you'll see a lot of closed doors. But that has been a large contributor to any success that I've had in change management. Present the facts in a non-threatening manner.
There's no doubt when you came up here, I always say when you come down here, but when you came up here, you did a really good job of reading the room there. You knew I talked funny because I was from Georgia. So I got to get that in there some way, And so they thought you talked funny because you sounded like you were from New York. So you are super involved. Can you tell us a few things that you're involved with here in the community and making a difference?
Sure. So, as we already discussed, Rotary, I'm the immediate past president of Keep Wakulla County Beautiful, which is an absolutely tremendous organization here. It's an affiliate of Keep Florida Beautiful, which is an affiliate of Keep America Beautiful. And if you're around my age, you remember that famous campaign with the Indian with the shedding a tear on the street as somebody threw a bag of garbage out the window. Yeah. But anyhow, I believe if you want to change the world, you're going to end up picking up somebody else's garbage. That's just the way it is. And so I've enjoyed my time with that organization, and I've picked up a lot of garbage. But I also work with another outfit that I became aware of when I moved up here to Wakulla County, and that is Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Yeah. And they're a nationwide organization. There's a chapter in Tallahassee, and we've just started, and we're going to get ready to roll out a delivery satellite club here in Wakulla County. And what we do, the motto of the organization is, no kid sleeps on the floor in my town. Anywhere you go in the United States, whether it's Beverly Hills or Tallahassee, Florida, 3% of the children are sleeping on the floor.
Wow.
That's simply unacceptable as far as I'm concerned in these United States of America. That doesn't make any sense to me. There's no reason. And there's a million different reasons why they are sleeping on the floor. But all future outcomes for that child will be improved by giving them their own bed, by having their own space, their own bed that they can sleep in. So I work with that organization quite a bit in doing deliveries here. We did a bed build in Charlotte back in May, where we built 5,000 beds in 24 hours. That's the biggest bed build in the history of the world.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty incredible. And the satellite chapter that we're opening down here, the delivery mechanism, what we did is we made it kind of ecumenical with regard to the clubs. The Rotary Club that you and I belong to, we do a bed build here every year, and we'll build about 30 bunks for distribution here in Wakulla. But the way this delivery club is going to work is it's made up of members of the Rotary, members of the Lions Club, members of the Christian Coalition, members of the Coastal Optimist Club, and we did that very specifically. Oh, there's some folks from the Chamber of Commerce as well. I didn't want to leave them out.
Sure.
I did that very intentionally to show the clubs that we can work together, and by so doing, we can actually have a force multiplier effect on the work that we're doing, rather than if each one of these clubs stays in their little silo and does this, and then another club is doing the same thing. It's like, no. Let's get together and figure out how we can do stuff together. So we're really excited about that. I also work with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm on the board of directors there, and I'm one of the committee members for our leadership Wakulla program.
Yeah.
Getting ready to kick off our second class here toward the end of the month. Really excited about that.
Tell us a little bit more about that leadership Wakulla. I think that's just got a lot of promise.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I've been involved in some of these Chamber of Commerce leadership programs in Broward County with Leadership Hollywood. The most recent chamber that I came from was in West Broward in Pembroke Pines, Miramar, Weston, and they had a pretty strong leadership program. Amy Geiger was kind of the driving force for this leadership program here from Wakulla, and it's terrific. It's kind of modeled a little bit on the Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce's leadership program. We got a lot of good techniques and information and ideas from them, but then we kind of remanufactured it a little bit so that it fit our situation here in Wakulla.
Sure.
It consists of, I believe it's 8 different program days, ranging from education, historical content, to Law and Justice Day, to Public Safety Day, so that the participants in it are going to have a very broad spectrum overview of how government, business, nonprofits work in Wakulla County. From a hands-on perspective, you'll spend a day in each one of these different areas. So you'll have a huge opportunity to network and relationship manage with the people in those various disciplines here in the county. You're going to get exposure and access to people that you never would take you a lifetime to meet all of these people, from the county judge to the county sheriff to the clerk of the court to the executives that operate businesses here like Residential Elevator, Coca-Cola, English Financial. You're going to meet all of these people that would take you years to meet. The people who really embrace the leadership class, the leadership program, they see their careers take off like a rocket ship.
You're so involved with everything outside of community service. Tell me what you like to do. Well, the one thing I do know, you're the only retired attorney I know that learned how to weld.
That's funny. That's almost a whole episode in itself, Brian, the welding thing. So my son, Nick, who you've met, great guy. He's perhaps the nicest person I've ever met in my entire life. He don't have a mean bone in his body. And he has some learning disabilities. He's on the spectrum. He went to American Heritage School in Plantation, Florida, which is one of the top 50 private schools in the country. And they had a whole division just for guys like him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So wasn't cheap, but I got to tell you, I would have robbed banks to put him there because it really saved his life. I have really good update on Nick, by the way.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so he's been with Publix for many years,
right?
And was about 2 years ago was promoted into the meat and seafood department from customer service, and doing it, making it happen. But he needed full-time hours, so I met through Leadership Wakulla Eddie Hand, who is one of our school board members here. Yeah. And I saw an ad in the paper. They were looking for a custodian at the high school. And I said, Eddie, what's the deal with this? And he goes, well, go on and apply for it. And he got the job. But to go back to the welding. So Nick has a very difficult time taking written tests. Written output is very challenging to him. Nick can process information very well. He just can't read very well. So when I took the introductory class with him to see whether or not welding was something he'd want to do, and it was recommended to us by somebody from Rotary.
How about that?
Because we meet over there at the Tallahassee State College Wakulla Annex. Yeah. And they knew Nick, and they said, well, why don't you go look at welding? So we went and looked at welding, see if he would be interested in it. And so I have a little short introductory class. Well, we took the class, but he had challenges with the test. So I worked with him as his test coach. And what we would do is the instructor would say, oh, we're going to do chapter 5 this week, so go home and study chapter 5 and we'll have a test on Thursday, written test. Well, he can't do written tests very well. So he would give us 2 extra practice tests. I would read the chapter out loud to Nick. Nick would listen to me. You see his lips moving while I'm reading it. Then the day of the test, we would go to school an hour early, take both of the practice tests at his workstation where he's going to take the actual test.
Yeah.
And we'd finish it 5 minutes before the test started. And it allowed him to go from missing the test by 1 or 2 questions, not passing it, to getting an 85 or a 90 on it by doing that technique.
Wow.
Well, okay, but now I'm here and I'm taking the class with him. I'm registered, I'm in the class, right? So when we finish, the wife says, well, what are you going to do now? I said, what do you mean? She said, well, you're a certified welder now. You went through the class and everything. So I built a shop on my property and I have a mobile rig. And what I like to do is support the local businesses here in town. I'll do the welding job that nobody else wants to do. If you were a career professional welder, you don't want to weld used aluminum. You don't want to fix an axle housing on an oyster farmer's truck, because he's got no money to pay you. So I'll fix it for trade. I'll fix it for oysters. And I like doing that kind of stuff. So it keeps me out of trouble. I do that, and I also have a short-term vacation rental property on Mashes Sands that I operate with the knowledge that I gained from the hotel business. So
sure,
it keeps me off the streets, keeps me busy when I'm not involved in one or another organization. And if I have free time, I'm all about outdoor sports. I'm hunting and fishing. If I had to choose between the two, I'd fish every day. I'm blessed to live on the Sopchoppy River, which gives me opportunities to fish, whenever I want. But yeah, as I said earlier, I can't sit still. I got to do stuff.
Yeah, I remember you shared with me in the past a little deer hunting story. If I remember right, you did go back to Georgia to do that. But
I did.
God gives us all gifts, and you certainly are using yours to better everybody. And it started at home with your family. It sounds like y'all really took some time to make some things happen there. And you brought so much to this community. I mean, I'm tickled to know you. Steve's a great example of somebody that is not from here, and he had talked about that somewhere. I mean, he made it his home, and it wasn't by name only. I mean, he's there. He's in the middle of it. He's making things happen. Steve, tell us, young people today, coming up through school, so many challenges, social media, it's crazy. I believe, in my opinion, they're way too exposed, way too early. Mm-hmm. But, it's what we got. What kind of advice, because you've been very successful in your family, professional, community service. You really hadn't done a whole lot, anything wrong that I know of, unless you're not a Georgia Bulldog fan. But I had to get that in there. What kind of advice for these young people, maybe even their parents? What do you think there?
So it'd be real easy for me right now to be a get off my lawn geezer. All right, real easy. I mean, it's just you teed it right up there, and I got a big driver in my hand, and I could hit it 300 yards right now. But what I'm going to say, it knows no era. There is no substitution for work. You gotta work. And what I would tell young people today, and I work with a few of them. I'm the 4-H air rifle instructor, so I work with young people there. I work with young people in KWCB. We have a lot of folks from 4-H that come over and participate in our events. So it's not like I'm away from them. I see them, I get them, I spend time with them. And having gone to welding class, obviously I was the old man in the room. Everybody in there is 18, 19 years old. You gotta work. There's no substitute for work, and work gets noticed. All right. And now tied into work are certain behaviors. You got to get up. You got to clean yourself up. You got to feed yourself to be ready to work. Right. So all of these different behaviors get tied up inside of the word work. Now, by accident or design, I started working when I was 14. And I've been working ever since. There were times in my life where my work habits were slack. I'm not going to sit here in front of you and go, I'm perfect. I'm far from it. I'm a weak and sinful man. But the times in my life when I was successful beyond my wildest dreams was when I was working at a very elevated capability, performance-wise, but it's all about the work. Today, it's like a popular phrase, are you putting in the work? Are you putting in the work? What does that mean from a success profile? It means, first of all, that whatever you're doing is adding value, right? So you could like dig a hole and then take the dirt and put it back in the hole and then dig another hole and put the dirt back in that hole, all right? So you're working. Make no mistake. Are you adding value? No. You're passing time and you're not really doing anything. Whereas if you did the same thing, the shovel and dirt, right? But you dug a trench and then you laid a pipe. Well, now you've added value. You're doing the same thing, right? Where they both work? Yeah, but one was value add work. The other was just busy work. You're just doing stuff. So as a young person, you should always look for the opportunity to work, which adds value. Work which adds value. And it's not easy. Work is hard. That's why they pay you to do it. It was very popular, I guess about 20 years ago. They wanted all employers, especially corporate. It was very big in the corporate world. I spent decades in the corporate world. Your passion. What are you passionate about? And it's like, who cares? Who cares what you're passionate about? Because that's very personal to you, right? My passion is personal to me. How does your passion add value? How does my passion add value to Brian English? Only if by chance my passion interfaces with what you need right now. Okay. But anybody can work and anybody can add value. All right. I've been successful in life because I'm a Swiss Army knife. All right. I'm the one person, you put it in your pocket, I'll follow you around, and I can do a gazillion different things. Do I do them all great? Right. So picture the Swiss Army knife. It's got a saw blade on it, and it's got a little pair of scissors, and it's got a knife, it's got a bottle opener, it's got all this stuff on it. Is that the best bottle opener that you ever saw, the one that's on the Swiss Army knife? No, but it gets it done. It'll get it done. And it's easy. It's right there. It doesn't give you any guff. You stick your hand in your pocket. It's there, ready to work for you. Okay. That's what young kids need to be. That's what everybody needs to be. If you aspire to do that and you do it, oh my goodness, what kind of a world would we be living in today if everybody worked and everybody had multiple skills? They were a bottle opener. They were a saw. They were a pair of scissors, right? And they were easy to work with, just like that Swiss Army knife. That's what you want to be. You want, my 2 cents and that's timeless. That has nothing to do with smartphones or writing your school lessons on a slate with a chalk, right? It has nothing to do with either one of those. It would equally apply in both of those scenarios. There is no substitute for work which adds value. And my son, God bless him, that's why he's where he is today, because he always works. He's a worker kid and adding value.
Yeah, you'd said something about your Swiss Army knife and being able to do a lot of different things. I say often that perfection is the enemy of good.
Man, amen.
And sometimes we're trying to wait for the perfect decision, and then you don't make one, and you get absolutely nothing done. Mm-hmm. And it's like perfection can paralyze production, and self-worth for that matter.
Absolutely.
So what you're saying really resonates with some of the things that I kind of foresee out there. And, man, that's really good stuff. Super stuff.
Yeah. It's not complicated. I think we as human beings are empowered with free will and consciousness, sometimes we have a tendency to get way too deep in the weeds. It's not as complicated as we make it to be. The world is pretty simple, regardless of AI, regardless of geopolitics, regardless of technology. The world is a pretty simple place. It works so much better if you work and add value and be easy to work with. That's it. That's what I try to do. I aspire. I fail every single day, but I believe in God, and I believe that everybody has an opportunity to get it right tomorrow. As much as you screwed up today, you get tomorrow's another chance to get it right.
Steve, you'd mentioned something earlier, if you give me a little bit of latitude. You come from a very unique situation in the fact that you do have a son that has some needs, maybe a little bit more than some others. You certainly uniquely qualified. You're intelligent and you know how to work. Tell us about, a little bit of that experience. I mean, a lot of parents out there, that can be very scary to them.
Sure.
But it's obvious you're an extremely proactive person, which is wonderful. But tell us a little bit more there, and maybe your insight and wisdom, maybe it'll help somebody that'll hear this.
Okay, so it's a fascinating story to me how this came about. When I was practicing law in New York City, all lawyers are required to maintain a book of pro bono business that you do as part of your licensing as an attorney. The Bar Association requires that you do a certain amount of work for free on behalf of the public, which is, good for the industry and good for the public and all of that good stuff. Well, my pro bono book was a school for autistic children in Staten Island, New York. And I represented them in various battles against the New York City Board of Education for several years. And it was very successful in getting the relief that these families so desperately needed. The school district in New York, they get paid based on fannies in the seats, as it were. Right? So they want every child to be in a New York City public school so that they get the money from the state. However, they didn't have the capabilities of being able to deal with these autistic kids in a way that would be meaningfully impactful upon their educational outcomes, shall we say. So what the parents always wanted to do was get their kid out of the New York system and into private schools that were set up to improve the outcomes for these kids. So I represented them in that battle. Here's proof, A, of the existence of God, and B, that he has a heck of a sense of humor. So when I retired from the practice of law in order to have a family, my practice had me on the road about 200 days a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I shut my office. My wife's an attorney as well. I met her in law school. Very good attorney. Way better than I ever was. She's just really good. So I closed my practice, and she continued to work. But we had a kid, and wouldn't you know it, I have an autistic kid. Right, so
wow.
I had experience with dealing with folks like that, similarly situated. And so now I got my own. Smart guy. Let's see what you're going to do. Oh, yeah. So, all right, smart guy, here you go. All right. So it was me and him from the get-go. When I lived in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania, I heated my house with wood that I cut myself. Well, Nick would be in a playpen in the forest while I'm logging trees and putting them into a truck and changing his diaper on the tailgate and everything like that. So what's the point? Well, the point is me and Nick are really tight. All right.
So awesome.
We're really, really tight. So in terms of how do you raise a child with special needs, with a very strong lack of humility, I'm going to tell you that I am a subject matter expert on that, because it was me and him hands-on all the way. And it's really scary because there's no manual for raising children. There certainly is no manual for raising children with special needs. However, there's a whole industry set up to tell you how to do this. Most of the time, it's all wrong. These people are really just like you and me. They just learn a little bit different. So here's what you need to do. You need to be consistently consistent, relentlessly, annoyingly, overwhelmingly consistent. It took Nick 2 years to learn how to brush his teeth. If you're not consistent and patient, that's not going to work. If you're patient and consistent, you'll help him learn how to brush his teeth. It's the same thing with tying shoelaces. It's the same thing with riding the bicycle. Brian, it's the same thing with everything. Wow. Every single thing takes longer because they learn differently. All right? So what does that mean? You can't change them. You have to change. All right? The thing that you have to do when you're dealing with people, any kind of people, you have to meet them where they are. If you want to have a good relationship with them and you want that relationship to be successful and bear fruit, you have to go and meet them where they are. All right? People with special needs, whether they be autistic or have learning disabilities or physical disabilities or something like that, you could wish that it wasn't so, but that's not going to change it. It's not going to change it. You have to meet them where they are. So with regard to children with special needs, you have to be ridiculously patient and you have to be ridiculously consistent. How do I know this? Well, because of my time with the school and because of my time with Nick, I'm surrounded by all kinds of other children with special needs and parents.
Yeah.
Okay? So I see these people. I know them, right? So I was able to manage other people's special needs kids better than the parent was. Why is that? Well, because they're not stupid. This kid knows how to push mom and dad's button. Mom and dad are tired. How do I know they're tired? Because it takes 2 years to teach them how to brush their teeth. Would that make you tired, Brian? I make anybody tired. You're tired just thinking about it. Right?
I mean,
yeah.
It's like, I know it just made you so much better of a man.
Well, I don't know about that.
Father.
I don't know about all that, but
I mean, it brought the best out in you, no question.
I often say that, having Nick made me a better person. I'm never going to know what it's like to be him. All right. Yeah. But having Nick, being around Nick, right? Somebody who is so nice, so well-intentioned, who tries so hard, all right? But, has the different challenges, different ways of learning, all right? But he's a certified welder. Now he's going to be the custodian at the high school. He's been with Publix for 6 years. His superpower is he's never late. He's the guy who shows up at work in his uniform 20 minutes before the shift starts. He sits on the bench, looks at the clock, and there he goes. That's that guy. He's that guy.
Outstanding.
Yeah, that's his superpower. And he's really nice. That's the other thing. He never gets in a fuss with anybody. But yeah, just kind of put a bow on it. You have to be consistent. You can't change the story. Nick didn't have a smartphone until he was 16 years old. All right. And he comes home from school one day and he just madder than a wet hen. He is he's all kinds of spun up. And I'm like, what's the matter? What's going on? He goes, that's it. I've had it. I can't stand it. I'm like, what? He says, I feel like I'm Amish or something. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, everybody's got these phones and they texting and looking stuff up. And I got this thing over here and all I can do is call you. And at that point, the peer pressure was just getting on him really bad. And so we relented and we got him a smartphone, that he could do that stuff with. But you have to be consistent. For somebody who learns differently and takes longer, if you're not consistent, they'll never learn because it changes. The rules change, the answer changes. It's like, no, the answer has to be the same because it's going to take him a couple of years to wrap his head around it in order for it to wire and embed into them. And I got to tell you, people have come to me, because I know families that have special needs kids and they're like, well, they're different. It's like, no, they're not different. They're the same. They might have their own thing. This one might be sensitive to touch, tactile issues, right? Uh-huh. This one might be sensitive to noise, loud noises, right? But at the end of the day, it's consistency that has to be consistent, and you have to be patient because it's going to take a long time.
I mean, what you're saying is so great because I get to hear people talk about the magic of compounding interest all the time.
Yeah.
But the real magic in this world can be consistency.
Consistency.
I mean, it is such a powerful word. You know, you just bring a whole new light to it.
Yeah.
You know, that is such an awesome story.
But again, you know, it kind of goes back to what you asked me earlier. I'm not going to sit here and go, Brian, I'm not a smart man. I'm not like that. I'm probably a little smarter than your average bear, but I'm kind of simple. I always want to keep things as simple as possible. Overcomplicate. We have a tendency to overcomplicate everything.
Yes, sir, we do. And I'm certainly guilty of it, you know.
Everybody is. I am too, you know, but the more simplified it can be. That's why, you know, you want to fix your community, you want to fix your world, you want to live in a better place than you live right now. All right, well, what do you need to do? Strong families, strong towns. Families, small towns. Families, small towns. I read something the other day that is going to help us along those lines with, I understand that they just passed a executive order or something that eliminated a state tax for family farms, right? So now if you, right?
I can tell you that could be absolutely huge, because without that, so many farmers, you know, they have issues. They can't pass it down to their family because can be ridiculoly cost prohibitive.
Correct. And these farms, they don't exist in like a TV world, you know, a mini series world. These are like real people that are in Taylor County. These are real people who are in Gadsden County. And these people are supporting Quincy. These people are supporting Mayo. All right. That's who they are. Anything we can do to support these families then supports the small town, and everything works better. You know, people accuse me sometimes of wanting to go back to the 50s. They go, yeah, you want to go back to the 50s. And I say, yeah, I do. I do want to go back to the 50s, the 1250s, not the 1950s. All right. I want to go.
There you go.
If you're going to go big or go home, you go back to the 1250s. I think that a lot of the challenges that we had, including challenges with dealing with people with special needs, are a product of we got away from our families and we got, you know, tight nuclear families and got away from our small towns.
Yeah, it's that breakdown of the family unit and just keeps rolling like a snowball.
Yeah, and all kinds of bad outcomes are the result of that.
Steve, I've had an absolutely great time. Let's I want to kind of give you the last word. If you were king for a day, what would you do with it?
Wow. If I was king for a day, what would I do?
This is scary, by the way.
Well, yeah. And you're probably going to hear something that you might not expect, and I don't know whether this is going to get edited out or not, all right? If I was king for a day, the world would close during Holy Week, the week before Christmas, all right? So all your Christmas shopping and all your stuff like that would have to be done by December 18th. And then that whole rest of the week, there would be no quote unquote work, right? You wouldn't go to work. The government wouldn't be operating. Everything would be shut. And you would be with your friends and family.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Friends, and you would go visiting people that you see very rarely. You'd be reconnecting with your community. It would be a time and space that was set aside for families and community. And I'm not going to tie you all up in religion and say this is what you should be doing. I'd be in church. I kind of take that stuff seriously. But regardless of how you see Christmas and all of that represents, if there was a chunk of time that was just, that's it. Not doing anything. School's out or anyhow, right? So
that's right.
So that part is taken care of. Not a whole lot of work gets done during that
You're
week,
right about
that. Because people are running around doing X, Y, just formalize it. You say, no, everything's closed. That's that. On the 18th, we're done. There's some supermarkets and whatnot, so that you can, people don't starve or whatever. But that's what I would do. If given that weighty responsibility and that power, for one day, that's what I would do.
Man, that's just so interesting. You were right. I wouldn't have thought that, but man, it makes so much sense. Mm-hmm. We talked about the breakdown of the family unit and the whole 9 yards, but Steve, I've had an absolutely wonderful time today and talking with you and learning more about you. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys soon. And that's all I got.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate the opportunity to get together with you anytime.
Thanks, brother.
It's time to meet some movers and shakers, people making waves the Wakulla way.